problem 2, which is easier, by the way. They're all that's the hardest one. Okay. So this is just one of those same one, and you could probably do this one now without my help, but we're going to go over it anyway because I want you to make sure you're confident, and we're going to do a lot of these because this is, I mean, almost every AP exam for the last back to like 2001 has a question like this, so might as well practice it, okay? And then they're all a little bit different. So what I'm going to do here is just analyze it totally, okay? And to answer the questions, you may not have to answer all the ones that I'm going to answer because it only asks you like some of what I'm going to ask you. But if you can totally analyze it, then you can answer whatever they ask. So I want you guys to be able to, you know, totally analyze it. So we've got 2 countries, and we have a linear production possibility curves, which means, by the way, the opportunity costs are constant because on a linear curve, the slope is constant. And we see the maximum in tons that Luna and Ashna can produce in food and the maximum number of machines that they can produce. So it's very obvious that Luna, right, has an absolute advantage in both food and machines because they can produce more of either one, right? Mm-hmm. Easy, right? Absolute advantage is clear here, okay? Luna is a bigger country, obviously with more productive capacity, okay? Now, the next thing we have to figure out is the comparative advantages, which is a little trickier. And look at the ratios, okay? So, and I'm going to be scrolling up and down here, sorry. So for Luna, it's 1-to-1, isn't it? 1-to-1, 40-to-40. So they give up 1 ton of food for every extra machine because they either do 40 tons of food or 40 machines. So 1 machine costs 1 ton of food, and of course 1 ton of food costs 1 machine, right? Easy, right? Now for Ashna, a machine costs 3 tons of food because they can either do 10 machines or 30 tons of the food. So for every 1 machine, they could do 3 tons of food. So as they produce more, if they're going this way on the curve, they're producing more and more machines going from 0 to 10 and fewer tons of food. So for every 1 more machine, they're having to, the opportunity cost is 3 tons of food, okay? Stop me anytime that I lose you, all right? Now, if 1 machine costs 3 tons, sorry about that. If one machine costs 3 tons of food for Ashna, then the reverse is true for the cost of 1 ton of food, right? 1 ton of food is going to cost 1/3 of a machine. Because as they, come on, can't get this guy. Do something real quick, so I won't keep doing that. Okay, so as they produce, let me go back here. 1 ton of food. Okay, so as they produce more food, right, going up like this, for every 1 ton of food, they're going to give up 1/3 of a machine. Okay? So that's, now once we figure that out, it's very easy to see who has the lower opportunity cost, okay? For Luna, 1 machine costs 1. For Ashna, 1 machine costs 3. So Luna is going to can produce machines for less in terms of food, right? So Luna's going to have the comparative advantage in machines. Now for Ashna, 1 ton of food only costs a third of a machine, whereas Luna, 1 ton of food costs a whole machine. So Ashna is going to be able to have a comparative advantage in food, because food costs Ashna less in machines than it does Luna. Is everybody with me so far?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the tricky part of this is asking you. Okay, so we've answered A, B, C, easy, right? And which with trade between these two countries, which countries will import food? Now remember, the country will import what they do not have a comparative advantage in. Okay, so whichever country has a comparative advantage in machines is the country that's going to import food. So if we go back and see who that is again, well, Luna has a comparative advantage in machines, so they're going to export machines and import food, and then just the opposite for Ashna. So that answers part D. However that they ask it, they might ask about importing machines or whatever, but you know how to answer that, right? It's all about who has the comparative advantage. Now, give an example of terms of trade. Now, the key to finding terms of trade that's good for both countries is looking at the cost before trade, okay? So the cost before a trade is up here, okay? So you got, there's more than one right answer. But you want to think to yourself, okay, how could we know? Okay, so we know that Luna is going to sell machines for food. Right now, Luna is paying 1 ton of food for a machine if they don't trade at all. This is just if they just within their own economy, right? They have to give up 1 ton of food to get 1 machine. So what we want to do with trade is make food cheaper for Luna because they're going to buy food. So we want to make food less than 1. And for Ashna, we want to make machines. They're going to buy machines. So we want to make them, so we want to make them have to give up, I think I might have just said that backwards. We want to, I might not have, I get confused myself, so bear with me. Okay, they're buying machines, so they want to give up less food to get a machine. So right now, we have to sort of figure this out. They're giving up 3 tons of food to get 1 machine, right? Because 1 to 1/3, and they're going to import a machine. So we got to figure out some numbers that's better than this. So what I came up with was if we trade 1/2 of a machine for 1 unit of food, because that's going to end up being less for both. Because when we look at Luna, before trade, 1 ton of food costs 1. Now after, with these terms right here, 1 ton, not tone, 1 ton of food is going to cost only 1/2 of a machine. Okay, because that's what the terms of a trade are. So they're better off, right, with these terms. Now, Ashna, 1 machine, as we just said, costs 3 tons of food. We go up here, see, 1 machine, 1 to 3, right? So you sort of have to do some conversions here, okay? Well, actually, it's right there. I'm sorry, it's right there. But now, since we're doing 1/2 to 1, that means that one machine only costs 2 tons of food, because 1/2 to 1 is 1 to 2. So instead of costing 3, now that it only costs 2. So both Luna, okay, so Luna is now paying less for food in machines, and Austin is paying less for machines in food with these terms of trade right here, okay? And that's the only tricky part, because you're going to have to sort of play around with the numbers until you find something that makes it better for both countries compared to what they had before trade. Okay? Does anybody have any questions on that one before we move on? Everybody got it? Clear as mud?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump up here. So that's the end of problem 2. I'm going to